Welcome to Social Civics. Today, we're doing a deep dive into one of the most important documents in American history, the Bill of Rights. So, let's start with a bit of a puzzle. When the Constitution was first approved, it laid out this incredible blueprint for a new government. But for a lot of people, something felt off. It was like they'd built this amazing house, but forgot to put any locks on the doors. Something absolutely crucial was missing, and it kicked off a huge national debate. So in this explainer, we're going to unpack that whole story. We'll start with why we even needed a Bill of Rights in the first place. Then we'll break down all 10 amendments with some real-world examples you'll definitely recognize. And finally, we'll talk about why this document is still, to this day, your personal shield of protection. Okay, first things first. To really understand the Bill of Rights, we have to rewind the clock a bit, back to the intense arguments over the Constitution itself. You see, the idea of writing down a list of rights wasn't brand new. A guy named George Mason had already penned Virginia's Declaration of Rights way back in 1776. So when the U.S. Constitution got approved in '89 without a similar list, people like Mason were, well, pretty alarmed. They worried that this new, powerful federal government could just stomp all over individual freedoms. That fear sparked a massive push for amendments, which were finally officially ratified in 1791. Now, here's a really interesting plot twist. James Madison, who we now call the father of the Constitution, was actually against a Bill of Rights at first. But he was also a pragmatist. He saw that a bunch of states were getting really nervous about ratifying the Constitution without one. So, to get everyone on board and unify the new country, he completely changed his tune and became the Bill of Rights' biggest champion. Okay, so with all that history in mind, let's dive into the amendments themselves. And we have to start with the big one, the one that protects some of our most basic, fundamental ways of expressing ourselves. The First Amendment isn't just one right. Nope, it's a powerhouse, a bundle of 5 essential rights all packed into one. It's what prevents the government from setting up a national religion, or on the flip side, from stopping you from practicing your own faith. It protects your right to speak your mind and express your ideas, even if they're unpopular. It also guarantees your freedom to gather peacefully, like in a protest, and to formally ask the government to fix problems. And here is a fantastic example of how this works in the real world. In a famous Supreme Court case, Tinker v. Des Moines, the court decided that students wearing black armbands to protest the Vietnam War was a form of protected speech. This was huge because it confirmed that freedom of speech isn't just about the words you say out loud. It can also be about your actions. All right, next up, we've got a group of 3 amendments that basically draw a do-not-cross line around your personal space. And these were a direct response to how British soldiers acted back in the colonial days. So here's the key takeaway. The Second, Third, and Fourth Amendments all work together to secure your personal life. The second protects the right to keep and bear arms for things like self-defense. The third says the government can't just force you to let soldiers live in your house. And the fourth protects you and your property from unreasonable searches, meaning the police usually need a warrant. Together, they create this really important zone of privacy. Now, let's talk about what happens if you're ever accused of a crime. The next 4 amendments are absolutely critical. They're basically the official rulebook for the justice system, making sure everyone gets what's called due process of law. These are all about fairness. The Fifth Amendment gives you the right to remain silent, to plead the Fifth. The Sixth guarantees you a speedy and public trial with a fair jury, plus the right to a lawyer. The Seventh extends that right to a jury trial to many civil cases, not just criminal ones. And finally, the Eighth Amendment bans insane bail amounts and any cruel or unusual punishments. This whole set is the bedrock of our justice system. The last 2 amendments in the Bill of Rights kind of zoom out. They deal with the big picture question of who has the power, you, your state, or the federal government. Think of the Ninth Amendment as a safety net. It says, hey, just because we didn't list a specific right here, it doesn't mean you don't have it. It's super important. Meanwhile, the 10th Amendment is all about sharing power. It basically says that any power that wasn't specifically handed to the federal government belongs to the states or to the people themselves. And this is a really key limit on what the federal government can do. The Supreme Court has made it clear that the feds can't just commandeer or, in other words, force a state to carry out a federal law. That's the 10th Amendment in action, making sure states keep their own authority. So, after going through all 10, what's the big picture here? Why does this document, written over 2 centuries ago, still matter so much to you and me today? Well, it all comes down to this. The Bill of Rights is your shield. It draws a clear line in the sand that the government cannot cross. It guarantees a baseline of freedom and liberty for every single person. It's the part of the Constitution that speaks directly to you.
It's a powerful, living document that continues to shape our country every single day. And that leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on as we look toward the future.
Hey, if you found this explainer helpful, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to Social Civics for more lessons on how our government works.